My name is Dara Okafor. I'm a paramedic out of Eureka, California, and I've been running calls up and down the 101 corridor for 11 years. I've seen things on the job that rewired parts of my brain I can't get back. But what happened last October at the Redwood Wildlife Sanctuary, what used to be called that anyway, I didn't talk about for a long time. Not to my partner, not to my supervisor, not to the incident review board that asked very politely what exactly I thought I saw. I told them I didn't know. That was the first lie. The sanctuary sits about 14 miles east of Fortuna, past the point where the cell signal drops, and the fog starts pooling in the road, cuts like it's waiting for something. It's a small operation, rescued animals mostly. Black bears, a few mountain lions in big chain-link runs, some birds of prey that can't be released. They do educational events, school field trips, that kind of thing. In October, they run a night tour. Lanterns along the paths, a guide talking about nocturnal behavior, families walking around in the dark, pretending it's spooky in a fun way. $45 a ticket. I know all this because my shift ended at 6. I drove my girlfriend Maya to meet her friend there, and I sat in the parking lot eating a gas station burrito, waiting for her to text me when it was over. She texted me at 8:47 p.m. The tour ends at 9. The text said, "Come in. Staff entrance on the north side." Marcus says it's okay. Marcus was her friend's boyfriend. He worked there part-time. I didn't think anything of it. I grabbed my jacket, found the staff entrance, a plain metal door set into a wooden fence with a push-bar latch, and went in. The path inside was gravel, lit at intervals by those amber solar lanterns on stakes. I could hear the tour group somewhere ahead, a guide's voice carrying through the trees. The air smelled like wet cedar and something else underneath it, something animal and close, like a barn in summer. Normal. All of it completely normal. I pulled out my phone to text Maya that I was inside and noticed I had no signal. Also normal out here. I kept walking. The first thing I noticed was a lantern that had fallen over about 30 feet up the path. It was still on, lying in the gravel, throwing light sideways across the base of a redwood. I set it back upright. When I stood up, I heard Maya's voice coming from somewhere off the path to my left, through the trees, which didn't make sense because the path went right. She said, "Dara, over here." Not loud, conversational, like she was standing maybe 20 feet away having a normal evening. I called back to her, took one step off the gravel and stopped. The underbrush was dense, sword ferns chest high, no light except the ambient glow from the path behind me. I couldn't see anyone. I called her name again. Nothing. I went back to the path. I told myself she must have been part of the tour group coming around from a different direction, that sound moves strangely under redwood canopy, that I had misidentified the direction. All reasonable. I kept walking. I found the main tour group about 3 minutes later, clustered near the mountain lion enclosure. 16, 17 people. Maya was there, standing with her friend Chloe and Marcus, and she had not left the group. When I asked her if she'd called out to me, she looked at me the way people look at you when they think you might be having a medical event. "We've been here the whole time," she said. "What do you mean I called you?" I said it was probably nothing. Sound bouncing around in the trees. The guide, a young woman in a sanctuary fleece vest, was explaining that the mountain lion in the far pen, a male named Copper, had been behaving unusually that evening. He was pacing the back corner of the enclosure, not approaching the fence the way he normally did when groups came by. She said animals sometimes got overstimulated by larger crowds. She said it lightly, professionally. But I watched Copper for a while, and he wasn't pacing like an anxious animal. He was pacing like an animal that had identified something and was keeping it in his peripheral vision. His ears were flat, His tail was rigid. He was looking at the tree line on the north side of the property, the same direction I'd come from. We did the rest of the tour. Owls in a screened mews, a black bear named Dolores, who ignored us completely, some informational signs about watershed habitat. Standard stuff. I stayed close to the group. I told myself I was being stupid. At approximately 9:15, the guide stopped on the path between the bear enclosure and the exit. She was doing a closing talk, something about the sanctuary's rescue program, and I was half listening, standing at the back of the group, when I heard it again. Maya's voice, directly behind me, close enough that I felt the sound in my sternum. "Dara, wait for me." I turned around. Maya was 8 feet in front of me, facing the guide with her back to me. Chloe's arm linked through hers. She had not turned. She had not spoken. I could see her breath fogging lightly in the cold air, and her lips were still. And she was nodding slowly at something the guide said about migratory patterns. I turned back around and looked into the dark behind me. There was someone standing at the edge of the lantern light, about 15 feet away, just where the amber glow gave out and the dark came in hard. The shape was roughly human, standing still. No reflective jacket, no lantern, no phone screen. Just standing there in the kind of stillness that isn't restful, the kind that is deliberate. I said, "Hello?" It didn't move. I said, "Are you part of the staff?" The shape, and I'm aware of how this sounds. I've turned it over in my head for months. The shape tilted its head. Not a curious tilt. Slow, like something moving through resistance, like watching a photograph adjust itself. And then it said, in Maya's exact voice, her exact cadence, her exact, slightly flat California vowels, "Are you part of the staff?" My own question. Back at me, perfectly reproduced. I grabbed Marcus by the arm. He's a big guy, former logger, and he registered the look on my face immediately. I told him quietly that there was someone in the dark behind us who shouldn't be there. He turned, looked, and his expression shifted in a way that made me feel worse, not better, because he saw it too. He got the guide's attention. He told her there was an unauthorized person on the North Trail. She had her radio out before he finished the sentence, and then she was herding the group toward the exit path, fast and calm, the way people do when they've been trained for something and don't want to say what it is out loud. The shape didn't follow. That's the thing. It just stood there as the group moved away, and I watched it over my shoulder until the path curved and I couldn't see it anymore. 2 days later, I went back. Not alone. I brought my partner, Guillermo, who is former Army and doesn't embarrass easily. We talked to the sanctuary director, a woman named Patricia Voss, who was very careful with her words. She told us that they'd been having an issue since August. An issue was how she said it. Someone, or something, had been coming onto the property at night after the tours ended. Facilities staff had found signs, impressions in the soft soil along the north fence, a motion-activated camera mounted on the bare enclosure that captured 3 weeks of footage before it was pulled. She didn't say why it was pulled. The county had sent someone out. Fish and Wildlife had sent someone out. Nobody had a clean answer. But here's what she said that I keep coming back to. She said that in August, before the incident started, they'd had a property assessor out to do a facilities report for their insurance renewal. Standard stuff. He'd walked the whole perimeter. His report came back normal, no issues noted. But at the bottom of the form, in the comments field, he'd written one sentence that wasn't part of any standard checklist. She showed me the photocopy. The handwriting was neat, slanted, like someone making a deliberate effort. It said, "Something has already settled in the North Corridor. Whatever you're planning to do about it is too late." Patricia said she'd called the assessor's office to ask about the comment. The assessor said he had no memory of writing it. Said he'd never been to the North Corridor, had done the external perimeter only, had not gone into the tree line at all. I went home that night and sat on my couch for a long time. The tour is still running. I checked the website. October dates are already posted. Saturday nights, starts at dusk, $45 a ticket. The reviews are mostly fine. One reviewer, posted 3 weeks ago, mentioned hearing what she thought was another visitor calling her husband's name from somewhere off the path. She thought it was funny. She gave it 4 stars. The thing in the trees wasn't hunting us that night. I've thought about it long enough now to believe that. It wasn't hungry, wasn't territorial in any way I can map onto animal behavior I know. What it was doing was learning, practicing, getting the sound right. And whatever that assessor wrote wasn't a warning, meant to save us. It was a receipt. I drove a checker cab out of Kill Devil Hills starting in the spring of '73. Good stretch of coast, Outer Banks, if you didn't mind the salt rot eating your wheel wells, and the fog that came off the sound like it had somewhere to be. I didn't mind. I liked the quiet. Most of my fares were summer people, families hauling coolers down from Virginia, the occasional real estate guy riding between listings. Steady work, nothing glamorous, and that suited me fine. The call came in on a Thursday evening in late October, maybe 6:30. Dispatch patched me through to a woman named Harriet Colby, who needed a pickup at a property on the inland side of Roanoke Island, one of those old, clapboard places, set back from the road, listed in the county register as a vacation rental, but the kind nobody actually rented anymore because the access road had washed out twice and the landlord hadn't fixed it properly either time. I knew the general area, fishing camps, a few duck blinds, nothing permanent. She gave me an address off Backwater Road and said she'd be standing out front. I pulled off the pavement around 7 and went maybe a quarter mile down a gravel track through scrub oak before the headlights caught the house. 2 stories, white paint gone gray, a wide porch that sagged on the left end, and in front of it, a pond. Flat black water, maybe 40 feet across, sitting so close to the house foundation, it looked like the house had been dropped into it and only barely missed. Cattails on the far side, a john boat tied to a dock post, aluminum hull dull in my lights. Harriet Colby was not standing out front. I sat there with the engine running for maybe 2 minutes, watching the porch. No porch light. One window on the ground floor showed a lamp burning amber inside, and through the glass I could see the edge of a floral couch, a stack of newspapers on a table. Looked lived in, but still. I hit the horn twice, 2 short, polite taps, and nothing moved. I got out. I'm not the type to sit in the car when a woman's called for a pickup and doesn't come out. It was cold, mid-40s, a wet wind coming off the water that smelled like low tide and something older underneath, like the mud itself was turning over. My boots crunched on oyster shell laid down as a path. I knocked on the front door. Nothing. Knocked again. Louder. The door shifted slightly under my knuckle, not latched, and I pushed it open an inch and called her name. The smell that came out was coffee, old wood, and something floral. Perfume, or maybe potpourri. No sound of movement. I stepped back. I did not go inside. I'm clear about that because later, it mattered that I didn't go inside. I walked around the left side of the house toward the back, thinking maybe she was out there, maybe a garden shed or something. The pond came right up to within 8 feet of the rear foundation, and the moonlight was thin but enough. I scanned the yard. Nobody. I was just turning to go back to the cab when I looked up out of habit. I don't know why, just one of those things your eyes do. And I saw the upstairs window. Center window, 2nd floor. No light behind it, just the dark interior of an upstairs room, and in that dark, pressed close to the glass, a face. I want to be careful how I describe it because I've had 50 years to let my memory make it worse than it was, and I don't want to do that. It was pale. That's the first thing. Not the pale of someone standing back from a window in dim light. Pale the way old candle wax is pale, uniform, without shadow variation you'd expect across a human face. The eyes were open. The mouth was closed, lips pressed together in a thin line. It was looking directly down at me. Not scanning the yard. Not reacting to me noticing it. It had already been watching. I walked back to the cab in a straight line. Not running, because I'm a rational man, and I told myself it was Harriet Colby upstairs, that she'd fallen asleep, that I'd startled her, and she was looking down. I told myself this while I got in the cab and did a 3-point turn on that shell driveway, and I almost believed it. But Harriet Colby hadn't moved. No light came on upstairs, no window opened. The face just stayed there as I pulled away, shrinking in my rearview mirror, still and white and watching until the scrub oak took it. Dispatch couldn't reach her when I called it in. We logged it as a no-show, and I put it out of my mind. For 2 weeks. Then I saw the flyer. It was stapled to the bulletin board inside the Kitty Hawk post office, one of a dozen notices for lost dogs and church bingo. But this one was a missing person sheet. Harriet Colby, 61, of Monteo, NC. Missing since October 18th. There was a phone number for the Dare County Sheriff's Office and a photograph, a church directory photo, the kind with the blue drape background. She had silver hair, cut short, and the kind of wide-set eyes that look kind even in a formal picture. October 18th, I'd taken the dispatch call on the 25th. I stood in that post office for a long time. Someone had called for a pickup using her name a week after she went missing. Someone had given her address, her telephone, and enough of her particulars to get a cab out to that house at dusk. I went to the sheriff. I told the deputy everything. The house, the pond, the face in the window, the unlocked door. He wrote it down without blinking much. They'd already searched the property, he told me. Found the house empty, unlocked, the lamp still on. No sign of Harriet Colby inside or on the grounds. They'd dragged the near edge of the pond. Nothing. The case stayed open. I know because I checked periodically. 6 months, a year. Harriet Colby was never found. But here is the part I didn't tell the deputy, because by the time I thought to mention it, I'd already stood up to leave, and I didn't want to seem like I was adding things for effect. When I'd knocked on the front door and pushed it open that inch, just that inch, I'd looked down at the floor, the way you do when a door shifts and you're checking the threshold. There was a folded piece of paper on the inside floor, like it had been slipped under the door or dropped just inside. I didn't pick it up. I didn't go in. But I could read it from where I stood, because the lamp in the side room threw enough light into the entry. It was a note, handwritten, block letters in pencil. It said, "She isn't here anymore. Stop sending people." I thought about that note for years. Who wrote it? Who it was addressed to? Dispatch? The landlord? Me? And the word anymore. Not she was never here. Not she left. Anymore. As if someone had been watching the property long enough to know the difference. I drove that coast for another 4 years before I moved inland. I never took another call to Backwater Road. Near the end, my last October out there, I was deadheading back through Roanoke Island around 9 at night, and my route took me within a half-mile of that property. I didn't slow down, I didn't look, but I saw it anyway. Through the tree line, second floor, center window, a pale face, still there, still watching the road. Harriet Colby was found the following spring, in the pond, 14 feet down, tangled in the old dock rope. The medical examiner estimated she'd been in the water since mid-October. She had been there the whole time we were looking. She had been there the night I knocked on the door, and something looked down at me from the upstairs window. I drive a car now. Personal. Retired. Nobody in the back seat. Some nights, stopped at a red light, I find myself checking the rearview mirror without meaning to. Old habit. Or maybe something else. I try not to think about which.